Hello everyone, this is my dog's head just popped up. That was hilarious. Sorry. This is Amy. I'm Fiber Arts Amy here and on Instagram. I'm here to do my 4th Flosstube. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who have been watching, subscribing, commenting. This has been really fun. Just getting started on this whole Flosstube journey. It's been fun. It's so fun to really share what I've been stitching, so that more than just myself and my family get to enjoy it. This has been really fun. So today I'm going to continue the tour around my house, showing you FFOs from the last 17 or so years. Lay down. I did change, I'll also show, after I do a bunch of FFOs, I'll show the things I've been working on the last few weeks. And I'm going to show a little bit of quilting stuff at the end for people who are interested in that. I did change my plans for what I was going to show for this Flosstube. I was going to do my kitchen dining room area, but I changed my mind, and what I have today are all the stitch pieces from our TV room, our foyer, and our powder room, which is right off our foyer. The reason I did that is because Nora Corbett, she had a series of 6 seasonal fairies that are relatively small, that I've seen mentioned a lot here lately on Flosstube and also on Instagram. And I have one of those pieces finished, and I'll show it. I'll explain more when I get to that. But it seemed pertinent to conversations that people are having right now, so I wanted to do that area, to throw it in and show people what it looks like. I don't remember much. When I remember a fabric, a designer, a pattern name, I will let you know. I don't remember much. A lot of these pieces are much older pieces. Most of them are done by me. There's a couple in here that aren't, but most of them are done by me. And I am hoping to keep this shorter. I keep saying that and they keep getting longer. I actually love long floss tubes. I love watching long floss tubes. When I click on something and it's an hour and 50 minutes, yes, so exciting. That's a huge chunk of time I get to watch somebody else, that I enjoy talking about their projects. But I'm still new to this, and it's taking forever to upload things, and there's probably ways to make that easier or faster, but I don't know what they are yet, so it would be kind of cool to have one that was a little bit shorter, to take a break from the long uploads. But we'll see how this ends up going today. But I'll just jump in if that's alright and get started. I'm kind of going to go in general size order again. I do have a number of small items, so at some point I'll give you a little bit of a tour, but our TV room, where I pulled a lot of these pieces from today, that's also my sewing room. It's a pretty big room. It's got a couch with a television, which is only hooked up to the internet. It's just for Netflix and stuff. It has my husband's workspace, his computer in it, and it's got an extra dining room table with tons of sewing projects in it, and sewing cabinets and DMC cabinets, and it's full of sewing stuff. So it's also where I tend to keep at least a partial collection of pincushions and things. So I have a number of those. This is actually one I did recently. Where's my camera? I did this recently, and I'm still not going to know who the designer is. I think I got it off a seller on Etsy. I have no idea, but I love it because I love, when I stitch a small, I love it being something that it's made into an object, like a pincushion or something, and this is so cool. And it's got these really pretty little pins that I love, and it was very easy to put together. So this was fun. This is actually one of my favorite pincushions. Most of these things are dusty. I'm usually stitching instead of dusting my house. This is actually a pincushion my mom made for me years ago, like maybe 15 or so years ago. It was quite a while ago. But I love it. I love the like muted colors, and I enjoy that. Fits in my collection. I feel really bad about this one because it's so cute, and I just don't know where the stuff came from. I don't know the pattern. Again, I'm very sorry. But this pincushion base is a Lone Elm Lane pincushion base. I love Lone Elm Lane. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, they make the round shaker boxes. They also make a number of rectangular and square boxes. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they made a, they call it a sewing cabinet, I believe, to mount on the wall, which I'll have to show sometime when I'm at my cabin. I actually put a Nora Corbett in the sewing cabinet. Like they show it with like a sampler design. I put a Nora Corbett on it, and I use it as my, oh my goodness, to keep my like herbs and spices and things. So anyway, this is from Lone Elm Lane. I love their products. I know they can seem quite pricey, but they are phenomenal quality. So this is just a Lone Elm Lane base. I have no idea where this pin set came from. I would imagine I got it from like an Etsy seller or something. They are the cutest little Halloween pins and Halloween design. My gut's telling me this came out of like one of the Halloween magazines or something, but I don't know. I did this so long ago. I believe I put layers of batting in here. I would not do that again. My favorite pincushion filler, I do like walnut shells, but my favorite filler, as I lose a pen, my favorite filler has become wool, just sheep's wool, which is what polyfill is mimicking. I just hate using polyfill because it's plastic, and I don't know, where I can, I try to reduce my use of that. And I don't like the feel of it so much. But polyfill is just mimicking sheep's wool. And I have tons of sheep's wool in my house because I knit and I also spin. So I have like full fleeces off of sheep in my house that I wash and card and spin. So recently I've taken to just grabbing a bit of roving or a bit of just raw wool or wool that's just been washed and using that as a pincushion filler, and it's fabulous. So if any of you also have like sheep's wool around your house, I recommend trying that for a pincushion filler. I have a couple of other patterns I'm working on. I already have the bases that they go in, and I'll be using sheep's wool to finish those. And I think they'll work better, and I think the pins will go in and out, and it'll function better. I grabbed this just because it has a little bit of embroidery on it. It's not very elaborate, but I do love it. This one has walnut shells, crushed walnut shells in it. This is just wool applique, but a small bit of embroidery with these branches and leaves. And I love owls, and this, I guess I'm starting to feel autumn a little bit, and this has an autumn feel to it. So this sits with the other pincushions too, so I went ahead and grabbed it. And this just came as a kit that I got from one of the booths at a quilt show. I have stuff everywhere. This is, I think, the last pincushion. Again, so sorry, I have no idea where this stuff came from. It says Humble Honey is the bee's knees. I did change out, I think, some of the colors. I stitched it on, this is a crossed wing fabric that I had like just a really small piece of, and these adorable buttons go with it. This was just a fun, quick thing to do. I think I've mentioned before, I work on so many like huge pieces. Sometimes I'm just like, I need to finish something. I don't care what it is. I need to finish something. And I'll often grab something small that can be made into like a pincushion and just kind of whip it up kind of fast. All right, this piece I did not do, but I think it's pretty cool. It's also a little bit dirty. So this my mother brought back for me. She she was on a trip to, I wonder if it says on the back. Okay, I don't know what this says. I'll put this here. It says Maria Stransky. I'm trying to read backwards. Petty Point. I don't know what that says down there. Hofburg Passage. 1010 Wien? I don't know what that says, but that's where she got it. It says here at the bottom to 1600 stitches to the inch. It looks to me like it's done, it's got to be done in 40 count silk gauze because the math works out. It's beautiful. It's tiny. Look at this. It's so teeny tiny. But absolutely beautiful. But my mom was on a trip in Europe and came across this, and obviously knowing that I cross stitch and I love embroidery and stuff, she picked this up for me. It was a really nice gift, in my opinion. So that hangs in our bathroom down here. This is what happened in 2020. Yeah, I did this in 2020. I was actually volunteering at my kids' school on a Friday, and I was talking to the other staff about, do you think we're coming back here on Monday? And sure enough, as soon as we got home that day, we received a message from the district that we were taking 2 weeks off. And I'm pretty sure I immediately started looking for a plague doctor chart. Oh, I wish I could. I want to see, this might be Night Spirit Studio on Etsy. I'm not positive, but I think it may be. I know I made a few changes. I'm pretty sure, I think I did this tying these. I think they were more stitched than what I've done, and I literally just like used a single strand of floss to tie the herbs. This was charted to be stitched on black fabric, and so the black in his cape and hat was not actually stitched. But with like the herbs hanging and stuff, I didn't want that like black vibe to it. I wanted him to be black. I didn't want the background to be. So it was very easy because in the chart he was backstitched. So I just filled in, you know, all of the empty spaces that were inside the backstitch that weren't already white or gray. I just filled in with black. That was easy to do. I also changed the date. I can be annoyingly precise and require accuracy in certain things, and I don't remember what date was put on here, but I was like, I don't think that's right for when there were plague doctors, so I googled it, and I believe 1619 was the first like record of this plague doctor type outfit. So I just changed the date to 1619, and this is not well finished at all. I could not get these straight. My linen is so stretchy. It's on like bushel, so it's like kind of twists and stuff in all kinds of ways. It's a crosswing fabric. It's beautiful. I was not having much luck, and I also was not in the mood to go back and like make it perfect. I just grabbed some quilting fabric that I thought would look nice with it and just did like a really messy lacing. I don't like using glue. If I can get away with it. For those of you who use glue on your pieces, you go for it. That's fine. I hate doing it. If I can avoid glue, I will. So I just did like some loose kind of lacing on the back, and I even stitched the ribbon down. And this hangs in the bathroom as a reminder to wash your hands. 2 more pieces from our bathroom. These are kind of a set, and I don't know. I stitched these a long time ago. I stitched these back in the day when I barely even knew an LNS was a thing. I'd only been to one LNS at this point in my life, and I was looking for things to stitch. I was looking for some little things to stitch, I knew I want to stitch tons of Mirabilias and Teresa Wenslers. I was looking for some things that were maybe a little bit faster and easier than that. So I stitched a pair of these with a flower and the butterfly. And they just hang in our bathroom. This is one of them. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the designer. I know they came as a little kit. It had, I believe this is stitched on a white Monaco. And I don't know if that was in the kit or if it was probably in the kit, but I might have grabbed it for my stash. I'm not sure, but it looks like white Monaco. But these were just a like fun, relatively quick, easy stitch, and I just got them framed similarly and hang in our bathroom. And I have some pieces from my foyer. I'm not a huge sampler person. I don't dislike samplers. But they're not usually like the first thing that I'm drawn to, but for some reason this one just, I loved it. The idea of doing it on black with just a little splash of white and yellow, and I love the verse on it. I just thought it was a good little reminder, kind of optimistic about how you want to spend your time. If you can't read it, it says, "Let every moment as it flies record you good as well as wise." I just loved it. I thought it was fabulous. So this hangs in our foyer. It is stitched, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember the designer. It's stitched on black linen, just with DMC. This one might look familiar. I do know this one. This one's Fat Quarter Shop. And it's actually called, oh, what's it called? Because it's not safe at home. Feels Like Home. I believe it's a Feels Like Home sampler from last summer. Stitched this in the summer of 2020. I would imagine you can still get the chart on the Fat Quarter Shop website. I stitched it on it's either white or antique white Monaco. I did make a couple of changes to it. The original chart, this here is empty space, and covered up. When everything else was stitched, I felt like that was like, yeah, I needed something in there. So, and I like signing and dating my pieces anyway, so I filled it in with my initials and the date. I just charted it myself. It's not real elaborate. Also, it does not say, the chart does not have the words safe at home. It has feels like home. I didn't want to stitch feels like home. That, like, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. So my husband and I put our thinking caps on, tried to decide what we wanted me to stitch there. And my husband's very involved in lots of my stitching decisions. He loves participating in my hobby, so that's fun. Anyway, we brainstormed, and given that I stitched this in the summer of 2020, safe at home definitely like rang true because of COVID. But also, without getting like too into the weeds on it, making a safe home environment for everyone, children, adults, all of us, is something that's really important to us. I guess can be very aware that not all, especially not all children, grow up in a safe, physically or emotionally safe environment. And creating a safe environment in all the ways is, it's just really important to my husband and I. So that's why safe at home, not only for COVID, but for those other reasons as well. That seemed to ring more true to us and our family and the household that we want to have. So that's why I decided to stitch, and it's actually one of my favorite pieces I've done. I really enjoyed it. Now I've mentioned this before, I don't like tons of variegation on my floss. So this is, I think, might be all Classic Colorworks floss that I used for this, and I did do loop start. And so you get like a more blended appearance. So some people's pieces turned out like with much more, you can really notice a lot more variegation than in mine. But because I do that loop start, it ends up with like a more blended effect. But I love the way that it turned out. I was very happy with this piece. Okay, here's the piece. This is the reason I wanted to do these pieces today. So this is Nora Corbett's Halloween Fairy. It's part of the group of 6 that she did with New Year's Eve Fairy, Valentine's, Easter, Christmas, Harvest. I think I got them all. So the reason I'm showing this is because I know I've heard Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World and Memphis Sarah E mention their kits, not necessarily for this design, but the Nora Corbett Holiday Fairy kits. Some of the floss colors, because dye lots have changed, and it was, was it Classic Colorworks, and now it's, I don't remember. But the name of the company that makes the floss, I guess must have changed hands, and it changed names. I don't know if dye recipes changed or if it's just simple dye lot over time issue. But I know like Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, when she received her kit, I think, and like started looking at the floss, like it didn't match the cover at all. And I've heard some people or read some people's comments questioning whether it was a dye lot issue or whether it was an issue of the cover photo not reflecting the colors properly. There are certainly some Mirabilias where like a cover photo, I think Forest Goddess is one of them. I think if you look at the cover photo, I think she looks like she's done in yellows, but then if you actually pull the floss, it's actually greens. That happens sometimes. You know, you think things are going to be one color in the photo, and then you look at the floss and it's actually a totally different color. I wanted to show this because this kit, I bought and stitched like right away when it came out. So I think this is a good representation of the original flosses that were in the kit, the original dye lots. And in my opinion, they do match the cover photo quite well. I remember watching Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, like going through the flosses that came in her kit and being like, what? Like, what did they do? Thinking those colors made no sense whatsoever. So anyway, this is mine. This was, did I date it? This was stitched in 2008. That would have been right around the time that the kit came out. I was so excited when this kit came out because I love Halloween and I love Mirabilia, and this was like the best of both worlds put together. I did do on this, I was, at least for most of it, yeah, for most of it, I was still doing the loop start to kind of get it more of a blended and less of a variegated look. So I love this piece a lot. It's probably the smallest like Nora Corbett that I've done, but I really love it. And it hangs up year round. For those of you who love a stitched piece, but it's a holiday and so you're like, oh, I need to take it down, don't do it. If you love it, you keep it out year round if that's what you want to do. That's what we do in this house. She's actually hangs right over my quilting cabinet that keeps, I could say it keeps my quilting WIPS in it, but it only fits like, I don't know, 10% of my quilting WIPS. It has some of them. Also a piece we keep out year round, even though it's clearly seasonal. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a Hindsight. It's probably Halloween Alphabet or something, with a case frame that was done to go with it. I did take these, the frame doesn't come with glass, but I took it to a framer and asked her to put it behind glass. I don't mind glass behind or in front of my stitched pieces, and like from a visual perspective, and it's clear I don't dust very much. I know myself, and I know I'm not going to keep a clean enough house to protect the stitches. There has to be glass there to keep it clean. So I'll just kind of do a down the line. Can't tell if you can still see things. I loved, of course, the X stitch block. It was awesome. This is a favorite of my kids. They think this one's really fun. See, I only have a couple left. This is going faster so far. Okay, this one I did not stitch. I bought it relatively recently off eBay. This is Teresa Wensler. It's the Castle. I think it's called the Castle. Now I'm like second guessing myself. Is it Castle and Dragon? I think it's just the Castle. Yeah, I was just like, I don't really hunt for these things, but I do go on eBay periodically and we'll just like search Teresa Wensler. There's only a couple of things that I'd still kind of like to have that I don't have. So I'll just kind of pop in there occasionally and see what's there. This popped up. I was not looking for a stitched piece. I don't have any stitched Teresa Wenslers on my wall because I haven't finished one yet. But this popped up and I don't remember how much it cost, but it was like a buy it now. So it wasn't like the auction. I don't think anybody had bid on it. And I remember, I mean, the price to me, I was like, oh, that's totally worth it to get that. I mean, it was certainly, I remember thinking like that price covers like the cost of materials. Like it was a good price. And then obviously it's framed also. It's not framing I would have picked for it, but I think it looks good in this like frame and kind of painted matte. It was signed. I don't know who SKD is, but SKD stitched this in 1995. So I have a Teresa Wensler hanging on my wall now, and I'm really happy about it. Because there's more Teresa Wenslers in my stash than I'll probably be able to stitch in my lifetime. So this is one I can save for last. I can stitch a bunch of the others first. I was really happy to find that. And it's very well done. It's very well stitched. Excuse me while I find a better place to stack things. And the last finished, oh my god, it's huge. The last finished item. I do not remember the name of this. It's probably Welcome to My Home or Fairy Welcome or something like that. It is a Passione Ricamo design. I apologize if I am butchering the name of that designer's company. This was a delight to stitch. It is just stitched on white linen. It's actually MCG Textiles linen. I used to have quite a stash of that. I've used most of it by now. Actually dyed a bunch of it. This was just fun. I loved, it was so bright and cheerful. I loved that little fairy, the green with the purple flowers. There's some blending filament in there to give it a little bit of sparkle. The like bluish purple of the butterfly. I just loved it. This piece was really, really fun. And it hangs right in our entryway, right next to the front door, so people can see it as soon as they come in. So those are all of the finished objects that I wanted to share today. I certainly haven't finished anything in the last few weeks. I think it's been about 3 weeks since my last Flosstube. I actually did very little stitching in that time. School started 3.5 weeks ago. My kids are actually at school. Initially, there was no mask mandate in my district. Don't get me started on that. There is one now, but without the mask mandate, my children were some of the only children wearing masks, and I literally picked my children up from school the first Friday, and they got in the car, and my son says, "Mom, my throat really hurts." And so it began. It was not COVID, thankfully. We actually thought it was. My son was so sick. I actually suspect it was like a flu-like bug or something. This was not just a cold. It wasn't strep and it wasn't COVID, according to the test results. But it swept through the whole family. Everybody got it. So the second week of school, my children were home instead of in school because they were sick. And so was I. I was like knocked flat for at least a week. And like my brain was all foggy. I did not want to try to follow a pattern. I mean, I thought if I stitched anything during that time, I would just be frogging it all in pretty short order once I was feeling better. So I didn't even want to try. And honestly, I was laying down most of that time. I don't stitch laying down. I think that would be difficult. Maybe if you had like a frame that would like elevate your stitching over you or something, but I don't. So yeah, not a lot of stitching done. It took a full, certainly there was a full week where I didn't stitch at all. And then I think the second week of it, like slowly ramping up to stitching. But not tons of it. I'm kind of back to normal now. But also in this first few weeks of school, the other thing that's happened is that all of the doctor's appointments and things that I've put off for the last year and a half because of COVID, and I was home 24/7 with my children and couldn't leave to like go to a doctor's appointment or whatever, all of that stuff I saved until basically now. Oh, sorry, I kicked the stand with the phone. So it's been busy between school starting, everybody being sick, me trying to get to a whole bunch of appointments, and then also doctor's appointments for sick children, and all of my children have their well visits this time of year also because they're all born in August, so they all have well visits at kind of the same time of year. It's been really busy, so there's not been tons of stitching. But I will show you what I've done. I'll start with the Teresa Wentzler because it's sitting right here. This is, I don't have the cover photo. I apologize for that. I meant to get it. I've shown this, I think, in maybe all of my first video so far. This is Teresa Wentzler's Princess and the Dragon. I was working on this morning. I actually got like 2 full hours of stitching in on it, which was awesome. But I stitched, I put another color in up here on the border. I've got a string hang. I've filled in some more of the wings here. I got some more filled in here of this blue, and I've got some of the darkest gold or yellow color filled in up here. So not tons of progress, but definitely progress. Given that I didn't work on it for 2 weeks because I just didn't feel up to it, I'm not too disappointed. You know, I'm really happy to have gotten back to it. This is something that's easiest to stitch when I'm alone. I find it hard to jump in and out of a Teresa Wentzler, so I have the most luck when my kids are at school. And I can just sit down and really focus and be able to keep track of where I am on the pattern. If I'm getting up and down every 2 minutes to help people with things, that just makes it a lot harder to follow along. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to keep making steady progress on this because I really want to, I mean, in a perfect world, I'd like to have it done by the end of the year. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I really want to at least have it like tons of progress, really progressing towards a finish by the end of 2021. It would make me really happy because I'd like to have a Teresa Wentzler actually completed. Make me thrilled. Unfortunately, I put a bunch of the finished pieces on top of things that I still want to show you. So next, I gotta pull the chart off of it. This one is called Moonlight Lullaby. It's one of the Little Stitches designs by Nora Corbett. And this is the one that I'm doing for my mother-in-law who wants to have a birth sampler or a birth record for my daughter. Oh, this one's very see-through. Again, given how sick I was, I'm actually pretty happy with how much progress I made on this. I did some more of the wings, more of the dress, extended this down, did more of the border. Oh, I finished her hair. This is beads that go in here, so I finished her hair. I definitely just, I I stitch whatever I feel like stitching when I'm doing a piece. So I don't really have a rule about going from top to bottom or bottom to top or anything like that. Generally speaking, I'll like in a general way work top to bottom, but honestly has much more to do with like what color I'm in the mood to stitch. So I'll often, like on a piece like this, I often kind of go back and forth between a more neutral color and like a brighter, more fun color. So hopefully I do want to get that one done. I'm hoping by like the end of next summer, I think, so that I can give that to my mother-in-law to frame. Let me see if I have the cover photo for Red. I'm not the only one that makes a mess while I'm filming these things, right? So this is Red from Nora Corbett. I think I've finally gotten over the hump of being mad at this piece. I think I finally made up with it, so I can get back to working on it. This one, so I'm not gonna take it out of the frame. But this one, I have a lot of the red, like a whole swath down here done, or mostly done. And then it's like the lighter part of the actual dress, not the cape, but the dress that I still need to do. And the arm, I'm gonna do the arm. So I went in and I know I did a bunch of the skin and I picked up some of the colors in here and started down, did a little bits of black and some more white on her, I believe. I just needed to like get back into it. But I had like one or two really nice stitching sessions on her before I got sick. And, you know, for a while there, I was just so like annoyed with her just because of a huge frogging incident I talked about one of my other Flosstubes. I don't usually have to frog, and I had to frog so much of her. I think I'm finally over it enough. And even though there's still tons of work left to do on her, I feel like I'm in that stage where I'm like, no, I'm gonna get her done, like soon. Like we're gonna get her. So she's definitely, I think in the past, like a month ago, I was like, I want to make her a focus. I hope she can be a focus. Now I feel like she is a focus. Like I really do, like we're good. I'm good with her. I'm gonna focus on her. I'm gonna get her done. I mean, it could still be months before she's done, but I think she'll be the next Mirabilia that I finish. I am famous for changing my mind, but I do think she'll be the next Mirabilia that I finish. The only other thing that I have stitched on, and I should have, knocking everything over, I should have prepared this better, but I didn't show the chart, did I? Hope I didn't just show the chart. This is Halloween Resurrection from Lone Elm Lane. I mentioned them earlier. They made that pincushion base. This goes in, shows on the back. This goes in a shaker box. I have the box. Usually if I buy the chart for something and I know I'm going to stitch it, I know I'm going to want it, and I know I'm going to want to finish it in the box or whatever that that is demonstrated or shown, I will, like, even before I've like stitched the piece, I will go ahead and buy the box, because I would hate to you know, stitch the piece and then go looking for the box, because it can take me years or decades to stitch something, and then find out, well, that company stopped making those, you know, X number of years ago. So I bought the box years ago when I bought the chart, and I use the box. The box is full of stuff. It's actually full of Clay by Kim, mostly Clay by Kim, other companies too, needle cases, because I love needle cases and I use them. It just doesn't have anything on the lid right now. So anyway, I've been working actually kind of hard on this grass. This grass is taking forever. When I was starting to feel better after being sick, That grass is what I really started working on because it was like relatively mindless. I had to fill in, or I had recently filled in kind of most of the rest of these other little bits and pieces. So then I could just go back and forth with Oscar. It's Weeks Dye Works Oscar is that green. And again, so when I look at that, even in the camera, I can see a lot of variegation in that grass. It looks good to me. And that's done with a loop start. So you get like a blended thread effect. I also got really lucky. I used 2 full skeins of Oscar. I thought 2 full skeins would be enough. It was not. I ended up running out with just this little bit left to go. I was like, ugh. You know, it's so hard to find, especially certain colors of floss right now. Didn't know if I'd be able to find more Oscar. I was very lucky. I went to my stash and it turned out I had 3 more skeins of it. Thank God. Not that I needed 3 more skeins, but I definitely needed, you know, that one to finish this up. So I really want this finished. I want this finished by the end of September, which I think is totally doable. This is the kind of stitching I'm more likely to do when my children are around. It's just not as intricate as like a Teresa Wensler. I want to finish that grass, and then I have one tombstone to finish, a few of the details here, and obviously the house. I need to fill in a bunch of the house. I need to finish the smoke there, finish the eyes and the warts. I think eyes on the birds need to be done. This ended up being like way more stitching than I think I expected by looking at the chart. Although not being much of a sampler stitcher myself, I definitely underestimated, I don't know why, I definitely underestimated the powers of a house and a big hunk of grass. I was like, I stitched Mirabilias, this will be fine. Well, Mirabilias don't usually have a house or a giant hunk of grass. So this is a lot of stitching, but I love it, and I love the box. I actually got a different, when I have it finished, I'll show you. I think I got like a bluish colored box. I didn't want the black. They have them in lots of colors. I really am a huge fan of Lone Elm Lane. This is not sponsored, like I'm not getting kickbacks. I'm just a very happy customer. I love Lone Elm Lane products. I have several of them. I'll show more as I go through these videos. So if anybody's like on the fence, I would definitely recommend Lone Elm Lane. They're easy to do the finishing in. They make it really easy for you. Great instructions, and really well-made products. Even though I don't actually have the stitching in most of my Lone Elm Lane boxes, I've been using the boxes for years. They're holding up great. So yeah, that's all the WIPs I wanted to show. Oh, 43 minutes. This is pretty good so far. That's all the stitching I wanted to show, or all the stitching I have to show. Those are the only things I've cross-stitched on for the last few weeks since I did the last video. I actually intend to continue really with just those 4 for at least a little while, at least until I get that Halloween piece done. I want to get that done before the end of September and in the box and fully finished, so we can enjoy it for the Halloween season. And just like everything else, it will stay out year-round, but it would be cool to actually have the stitching in it this year for Halloween. And I typically, Halloween decorations go up October 1st. I know some people do it earlier. That's just the way I like to do it. October 1st, that's when the big bin of decorations, really the only holiday I do a lot of decorating for, but that's the day that all the decorations come out and my kids help me and we get creative and put things up all over the house. So my plans are to continue working on those 4, and I'm sure, you know, other things will strike my fancy here and there, and I'll pick them up. Last time I talked about starting the 12 Days of Christmas from Nora Corbett. I can't wait to do that, but I was certain I would have fabric in my stash that would work for it, and I'm sure I do, but somewhere between filming that video and going to my stash, I got it in my head that I want to do it on an opalescent. And I almost never use opalescent fabric, so I tend not to stash it. Yeah, I just, like, I got it in my head, and then I went into my fabric stash and I was looking, and there were pieces of fabric that would look, I'm sure those 12 Days of Christmas would look great on those fabrics. But I was like, but they're not opalescent. So I did break down, trying not to order more fabric, but I did break down and order a piece of opalescent for the 12 Days of Christmas from Be Stitch Me. So I think probably as soon as that shows up, I'll be starting that piece. But I'll show you that fabric when it arrives. You know, it just takes a little while. Her Be Stitch Me's turnaround, I think, is great. Things, I think, come very quickly from her. Usually only like a matter of weeks, I think, to get them, like a few weeks. But I do have to wait for that to show up. And then I'll be starting that huge Nora Corbett piece I'm so excited about. It'll be like a 20 or more year project, but I'm really happy about it. I did want to show you some of the other things that I've been doing. This is basically going to be all the cross stitch. So those of you who came just for cross stitch, you're welcome to leave. I'm not planning on showing any more cross stitch from here. For those of you who want to stay and see some quilting, not a lot of it, but a little bit, you're welcome to stick around and see what I really enjoyed doing over these few weeks when I felt like I couldn't cross stitch, but wanted to be still productive and doing something with my hands. So for those of you who are leaving, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully I'll see you next time. And those of you who want to stay, sit tight, and I'll show you a couple quilting projects. So I just love handwork. For me, the crafting task that takes the most energy and motivation is using my sewing machine. I still love using my sewing machine, and I love quilting and piecing on my sewing machine. I certainly would never get so many quilts done if it weren't for my sewing machine. But it takes a lot out of me, it feels like it does, to like actually use my sewing machine. So sewing can and has at times been a bit of a rare thing around here with kids. Just so often by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. I don't have it in me to get a sewing machine. So I tried my hand at hand piecing. I'm not a good hand piecer. I do enjoy hand quilting, but I'm not inclined to hand quilt a lot of quilts. I find it kind of hard on my thumb. I can get some tendonitis there. So I do some hand quilting, or have done some, and enjoy it, but not tons. The handwork I have fallen in love with is English paper piecing. I feel like it is the perfect form of sewing / quilting for a cross stitcher. If you're a cross stitcher who wants to delve into quilting, English paper piecing, I think, would be a great way to get started. It's phenomenal, and some of you may have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me show you. This is a quilt I'm making with my daughter. I'll explain making with my daughter in a minute. She is 7 and does not know how to hand sew. We are making this from, you might be familiar with this. These sorts of quilts, sometimes the flowers are right up next to each other like this. Sometimes they have like borders of white in between. They're often done in like 30s reproduction fabrics. They were very popular, I think, back in the 30s. This has become a project for my daughter and I, and she absolutely loves it. She saw it the other day and was like, oh my God, it's huge, you know? Was so excited, like thinking it was almost done. I was like, dear, we got a long way to go. Because it's not, English paper piecing is not a fast process. But what it is using, for those of you who don't know what it is, you actually, there's different ways of doing it. The way we do it, or way I do it typically, is you have a piece of paper that's cut in the shape that you're trying to make, so in this case, hexagons, and you wrap the, here I can show you. For those of you who are not familiar with it, you cut out a fabric hexagon that's a bit bigger than your paper hexagon, and then you just put the hexagon, paper hexagon in the middle. There is, they sell, I use the Soline glue sticks, or any of the brands. Sue Daly makes them, Fons and Porter makes the glue sticks. I do use like a quilter's glue stick, and you basically just glue that and fold the fabric down, and then glue that and fold the fabric down, and glue that and fold the fabric down. I'm not trying to do like a whole tutorial here, but you basically just glue the fabric to the paper, and then, let me see if I have, and then you can just hold 2 hexagons together and just stitch down the side. You just whip stitch all the way up that, and you just stitch all the edges together. I did so much of this when I was sick because it is easy and mindless. You just you just put 2 edges together and you stitch them. You put 2 more edges together and you stitch them. We have an AccuQuilt Go, which is or a mini. It's a AccuQuilt Go Me. It's like the mini version, which is one of those machines for cutting out fabric. And my daughter is relatively independent with the AccuQuilt. So what I can do is give her scrap fabric, or what we've been doing, we're making this quilt with all scrap fabric and like charm packs, just random charm packs that I have around with like no plans. She cut all of these hexagons out for me. This would be 360 hexagons. She cut out, actually more than that, because there's 42 squares in a charm pack. More than 360 hexagons using the Go Me. It's awesome that she's become like independent with it, because you can cut the pieces out so much faster, and it's a lot safer. My daughter, I don't, with all of my children, because my sons do quite a bit of sewing and crafting too, I don't try to get them to do things, but if they show an interest in it, I'll try to help fit that interest. And my daughter loves using the AccuQuilt Go to cut fabric for this hexagon quilt. She's like totally into it. She uses a sewing machine too. I am not willing to give her a rotary cutter. I have known enough grown women who have cut off the edge of their finger using a rotary cutter. There's no way I'm giving a rotary cutter to any of my kids. I'm still like reminding them to look both ways before they cross the street. I'm not giving them a rotary cutter. But the Go Me is, at least for us and with my children's personalities, much safer. They know not to put their hand down on the die where the blades are. So she's able to cut. She also picks out which, like, what the flowers are going to look like what fabric's going to be the petals, what fabric's going to be the inside. She does a lot of the gluing. She loves gluing the fabrics down to the paper. And she loves checking in on it. She wants to know how I'm doing. So I laid in bed for days just sewing hexagons together and was totally happy. You know, I couldn't cross stitch, but I was productive and I was doing something with my hands, and I was still stitching, just a different type of stitching. And it's very relaxing and like very low stress. I really love it. The other, because of course I don't only have one English paper piecing project going, because that would be ridiculous to only have one of something. So the other project that I worked on, and this is, my daughter's doing some of the gluing for this one too, but this one's more me, less of a group effort. This is a Tula Pink kit. Now Tula Pink, from what I can tell, I follow her on Instagram. I love her. I love her fabrics. She does, if you like Tula Pink, follow her on Instagram. She does Tula Tuesdays or something. She always has a little video out on Instagram on Tuesdays that I tend to watch. So from watching those videos, I get the impression that she spends a large part of her life English paper piecing. That's like her thing. That is how she likes to sew. She does tons on a sewing machine too, but like when she wants to like kick back and relax, it's with English paper piecing. So several years ago, she started putting out English paper piecing kits. I don't know, but I suspect this was the first one. And I got this years ago. I say that because they're done differently now. There are companies like Paper Pieces, actually it's just paperpieces.com on the internet, that sometimes do fabric kits for her English paper piecing quilts. But now typically they'll sell the paper piece pack, and I've heard her say that her paper piece packs will always have enough paper pieces in them to do the entire quilt without having to reuse the papers. In case you haven't done this before, you can reuse papers over and over and over again. Eventually they get too ratty and you can't, but you can reuse them many times. This kit did not have that many paper pieces in it. So that's one of the reasons why I say I think this may have been her first. So now you can buy a paper piece kit, and you can also buy an acrylic template kit. And you use those to cut out the pieces and do the gluing and all that for her quilts. I have not done one of her more recent paper pieced quilts yet, but I have several of the paper piece and acrylic sets because I want to. She has like Tula Nova. I'm blanking now on some of the names of them, but I know I've got 2 or 3 in my stash that I want to be able to do. But I think this is one of her earliest, and if not the earliest, here's just a bigger mock-up of it. And this one came with pre-cut pieces, which to my knowledge, Tula Kit English paper piecing kits do not come with a fabric pre-cut anymore. Could be wrong about that, but I don't think they do, or haven't since. But this came with all the fabric already pre-cut, which makes my life very, very easy. Really clear instructions inside this for the, which fabric goes where and all of the placement. Oh, here's 2 pieces. So like, let me get gray so you can see it more easily. So there's the paper side and the fabric side, and then you need to sew 2 together. You just put them right sides together, line up that edge, and then you just whip stitch all along that edge. And then you can open them up. And once you have a piece of fabric that is completely surrounded, so all of its edges have been sewn to something else, then you can pop the paper off the back and reuse the paper. So here's a partial, these are elongated hexagons. Here's a partial component that I've made, and I actually made tons of progress the week I was sick on this project. I mean, I don't know. If you're not used to hand sewing, this might not look like much. But honestly, compared to cross stitch, I feel like this flies. I feel like it flies by. And it requires like 0 mental energy. So it was really great to do while I was sick. I will take this with me sometimes. I will do this at times where I just don't feel like I have it in me to be following a pattern, like a cross stitch pattern. I'm worried about making mistakes. I'm just far less worried about this. It's just easier, less mental energy. I'm only using, some people when they're doing this will use like different colors of thread to match pieces. I'm not. I'm a pretty lazy crafter. I'm just using white thread, so I don't have to make decisions. I don't have to rethread my needle that much. I'm just using white thread, and I'm just whip stitching pieces together. And then sometimes I take a break and glue a bunch of fabric to some papers. And then when I have a stack of those, I start whip stitching them together again. And it was just, I like these projects generally, but particularly when I was feeling under the weather. It was just great to feel like I was still being productive. Yeah, still being productive, still getting to enjoy crafting, even though I wasn't feeling up to cross stitching. For those of you who follow my Instagram, you may have also seen that I got into a big dyeing stint over these few weeks. Sorry, I kicked the camera stand again. I love dyeing, especially fiber, either roving or yarn or just raw wool. And periodically I'll set up and do a whole bunch of dyeing. So I did that also while I was still kind of not quite feeling up to just like sitting down and stitching and being able to like really focus on a pattern. If you go to my Instagram, you can see some of the pictures. I set up an indigo vat and dyed a whole bunch of yarn. My kids get involved. We dyed t-shirts. I dyed some linen fabric that I hope to make into a dress. I don't know exactly what pattern yet. I do not have very much experience with garment sewing. Some, but I wouldn't want anybody to ask me for advice. I don't feel like I'm very competent with it. The few things I've done have worked out, but I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. But I'd really like to make a dress out of the linen that we dyed in the indigo vat. I also use some cochineal, which it's actually where some red food coloring comes from. They're bugs. In the American Southwest, that's where we get a lot of our red dye. But you can buy the cochineal and extract the dye and dye with it. So I had tons of fun. I need to put some more pictures up on Instagram too. Dyeing with the indigo, the cochineal. I did some mixes of the two to get purple. Dyeing with the cochineal first to get the red shade or the pinky shade, and then over dyeing with indigo, getting purple was beautiful. Also did some turmeric, which gives you yellow, and then you can dye it with indigo and get a green. Yeah, so I had fun. I was kind of distracted doing a bunch of dyeing. I need to get it fully rinsed. I also kind of caved and dyed some cross-stitch fabric in the indigo, which is objectively a bad idea, just to be clear. Indigo, if any of you have ever worn jeans, indigo fades. It does not hold its color that great. It fades with light and with wear. It can also crock, meaning it'll rub off on other things when it's dry. But I had this piece of just white opalescent fabric, which is not what I wanted to do the Mirabilia, the 12 Days of Christmas on. I wanted some modeling to it. So anyway, it's plain white piece of opalescent fabric. Indigo vats last for days or weeks. And I just, for days, I was just like eyeing that piece of fabric. I was like, I just wanted to put it in that indigo. I want to see what it's going to look like. And finally I caved. The whole time I'm like, that's dumb. Why would I do that? Even though I hate the word dumb. It's just not a good idea. Like stitching on it, if I'm stitching any light colored threads on it, the indigo might crock off onto those threads and change the color of threads as I'm stitching. So I like to wash my pieces. I'm going to have to really make sure all the excess indigo is off of that sucker before I start stitching on it, which can be hard to do. Again, even like if I stitch on it pretty quickly, whatever I'm going to stitch on it and get it framed with like museum glass and up on the wall, there's still every chance that indigo is going to fade with time. I couldn't resist. I did it anyway. It's beautiful. I do need to do a lot more rinsing and washing with some Synthropol, which is a detergent that holds on to excess dye molecules, before I can even think about like testing it to see if I need to test it. Use some white floss, some white DMC, get stitching on it in the corner, and see how much crocks off. I said I wasn't going to talk about cross stitching, and here I am talking about cross stitching. But anyway, in a future video, I'll show you guys that experiment and show you what would happen with the indigo opalescent fabric. But I think that's it. Thank you for sticking around. I know I've had some people request that I do show more quilting in my videos. I probably will do that, but probably like a little bit here or there. Probably like if I do finish a quilt top, you know, show it to you guys. I have 3 quilts right now that are waiting for binding. Maybe when I'm done binding them, I'll show them. I do most of my quilts go to a long arm quilter, and then come back to me to do the binding. I do most of the binding by machine, so it doesn't actually take that long. But thank you. Thank you to everybody who has been watching, commenting. This has been really fun getting started on this. And I'm hoping to do this every, 2-3 weeks-ish or so. It's really just going to depend on when I feel like I have something to show. It took me a little bit longer this time because I didn't stitch for such a long period because of being sick. So it took me a little bit longer to come back with a video. But I still have 2 sections of FFOs that I want to show, which would be like my dining and kitchen area. And I think all my kids' rooms, I'll probably pull their stitching into one group to show you. So I'll continue on with that. So thank you everybody, and I hope you're enjoying whatever stitching projects you're working on, and hope to come back here and see you soon.